Thank you, Speaker. And may I also congratulate you on your re-election to your important role in this place. I wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land that we meet, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respect to their elders past, present and emerging. I have many reasons to feel great pride in standing right here today, but ranking among them high is the fact that I am now a member of the first Australian government pushing actively towards treaty. I pledge to do all I can to further advance this great cause as a member of the Andrews Labor government. Speaker, I've just been given an important job, and the gravity of this job is perhaps best illustrated by the length of the job interview required to get it. The people of Mount Waverley have elected me to represent them, and I am deeply humbled by this honour. The responsibility given to me is one which I take very seriously, and I'll use everything I have to serve each and every one of my constituents. One of those is the previous member for Mount Waverley, Mr Michael Gidley. As one of his constituents for the last 2 terms, I thank Michael for his service. I would also like to acknowledge and thank the Honourable Maxine Moran for her assistance and guidance during the last 6 months. Maxine held Mount Waverley from 2002 to 2010 and served as Minister for Children and Early Childhood Development and Minister for Women's Affairs in 2007 to 2010. Her work to prevent violence against women and their children helped lay the foundations for this government's historic Royal Commission into Family Violence and everything that is flowing from it. I'd like to thank Maxine not only for her significant contribution to Mount Waverley, but for the state of Victoria. As a newcomer to the Labor Party, I was welcomed into the West Waverley branch, which is my branch, and it was there that I met Cyril Kennedy. Now, if you don't know Cyril, then I'll tell you, it's probably true, and then I'll tell you that he will tell you what he thinks. Cyril was and is a man to be reckoned with. He was president of the free education movement, and for my 1 year of Gough-based free uni in 1987, I'm very grateful. More importantly, he was member for Waverley and the other place for 13 years. He was instrumental in the creation of what Mount Waverley now relies upon as the Monash Medical Centre, but he was also the first ancestral Indigenous representative in our Parliament. To Cyril and Jan Kennedy, I owe you both much. I would not be here without your support and wisdom. Campaigns don't just happen because a candidate is pre-selected. They take a lot of hard work from a lot of dedicated and selfless people. And that was certainly the case for me in Mount Waverley, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the members of the Waverley West and Glen Waverley branches of the Labor Party. In particular, their respective presidents, John Malahi and Simon Miller. Thanks, guys. I also thank the Honourable Luke Donnellan for launching a guy who nobody knew and expected to be around. The Honourable Anna Burke, thank you for coming. Michael Watson, David and Teresa Schultz, Bob and Ravel Kirkwood, Christine Barcham, Anne Hyde, John Smith, Graham Bond, Chris Miller, Greg Mail, David O'Neill, William and Mary Ann Malahi, David Mear, Mem Suleiman, Mark Dorrington and Douglas Hastings. To Sean Lean, our new president of the other place, thanks for your friendship and support. He worked tirelessly for all our Eastern candidates and seems to have collected quite a few new ones in this place. I must also thank the Transport Workers Union. John Berger and his members have relied on me to serve them in an IT capacity for almost 2 decades, and I thank them for their support and friendship over many years. There are many others, too numerous to name, who gave their time, their skills, their energy, their enthusiasm, and I'd not be here without any of you, and I give you my deepest gratitude. So much of our politics stems from lived experience and from the people closest to us. And I want to acknowledge and thank Rebecca Fregon, my partner for life. I would be so much less without you. I love you, and I continually hope that you'll put up with me. To my children, Sophie, Lindsay and Samuel, you get me up in the morning, even if you're not jumping on me, and I love you more than anything bar your mother. So here I am, a product of my family, my home, my party and my community. And it is those people and institutions that have given me so much and so enriched my life that now inform all of my goals as a member of this Parliament. There are a few things that are fundamental to what I want our state to be. I represent an electorate that justifiably takes much pride in being known for excellence in public education. My mother was a teacher, my wife is a teacher, and her mother was a much-loved teacher at our own Glen Waverley Secondary College. For us, government education is in the blood. I went to public schools, Kent Park Primary and then Fair Hills High School, because my father believed that if you're bright enough and you work hard, you'll be fine. I want our public education system to be that system. I want our independent schools to be chosen because they provide something else aside from educational value, not because they provide better ATARs. I want our teachers to be recognised because they are teachers, not because there's some quality quotient that they've managed to tick off. In the words of my very intelligent wife, no one understands how hard a teacher works. Well, I do. In my electorate, the government schools are something of a victim of their own success. In terms of funding and facilities, they're struggling to keep up with the high level of demand of enrolments that have come about because people move into our area to send their kids to these great schools. And that's exactly why my wife and I moved there 9 years ago. I know that with even all the money in the world, we could still always do more for our schools, but I promise my constituents that for as long as I am here, education will be my #1 priority. As important as these schools are in setting up our kids for life, they have become just as important in trying to teach them what's expected of them and us as good citizens in this community. We must not let up on our efforts to teach and show our children that family violence and violence against women is unacceptable. It is a scourge that must be eliminated from our community. On this matter alone, I would be proud to join this government. To the Premier, ministers and members in the Parliament who brought about the Royal Commission and are acting on its findings, I thank you. For me, though, the dramatically increased prominence of this effort has led me to ask myself, why do some people feel our work against family violence has established a movement against them? I don't understand. I don't understand how some people believe their personal sensitivities are more important than making sure no child experiences or witnesses abuse. So let me be clear. Not all men are responsible for this violence and abuse, be it physical, emotional, financial, aimed at women and/or children, but all men are responsible for the attitudes, the words, the jokes that create these impulses in some men and lead them to act on them in abusive ways, and sometimes lead them to act on the most horrific ways imaginable. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable to me, it's not acceptable to this government, and I do not hesitate to say that it should not be acceptable to anyone. And it is time for us men to take responsibility whether they commit these acts or not. I encourage anyone who comes into contact with family violence in any way to please ask for help. Our job in this place is to provide that help because it is the right thing to do, to provide services that help address this problem in our society. And to those that are angry or aggrieved or bitter, I ask them not to be distracted from one core fact, that whether you're a man, a woman or a child, you should not have to be subjected to violence and abuse. This government's Family Violence Royal Commission has already had huge ramifications, and that is also my hope for this government's next effort to address one of our seemingly intractable problems, how we deal with the issue of mental health. So much work has been done in recent years to reduce the stigma around mental illness, but we can do more, and this Royal Commission will tell us exactly what that is. Like so many others, I grew up in a family that was affected by mental illness. My aunt, Barbara McFarlane, a gifted and intelligent woman, suffered from bipolar and schizophrenia. Within our family, there was no secrecy, no shame, only love, support and pragmatism. But I know what it's like for her to operate in a world where she did not find that warmth and understanding. Growing up at a time of a culture of shush, I can tell you that discussion, investigation and honesty will be so much better for so many people. I cannot imagine how life may have been different for those that went before us, but I can want the best possible outcomes for those who live with illness now. We must talk to each other. We must be open about the difficult and the sensitive. We must be proud that our auntie lived with mental illness for decades and was a wonderful and productive part of our family and our community. We must look to a better understanding of difference. There is so much in my family story that's brought me to this point in this place. To my mind, my family story is one of aspiration. And as far as I'm concerned, so is the Labor Party's. The Fregon family came here in 1852 during the gold rush, full of aspiration. They opened a public house in Omeo, which is a pretty clever thing to do in the middle of a gold rush. Jump forward a century, one of my grandparents, Lindsay Fregon, a boilermaker by trade, drove trucks to Darwin during the Second World War and then went on to manage the brickworks in Oakley. My other grandfather, Arthur Bryce, ran a shirt factory in the city. Yeah, the city. It's when we used to manufacture things in postcode 3000. No matter how hard the family toiled, the rag trade didn't work out for Arthur, and that's business. That's the downside of aspiration. It doesn't always work out. I was raised in my father's Ferntree Gully pharmacy, which he ran tirelessly for many decades. It was a cornerstone of the Ferntree Gully community, and he was always there, whether you needed advice, medicine, a chat, or maybe a last-minute Mother's Day perfume gift. When my time came, I also started my own business. Now, solving IT problems for the last 20 years has taught me how to listen, but you have to ask the right questions. And it was in John Fregon's chemist at the age of 4, I was taught to stand behind the counter and say, "How can I help you?" I brought that attitude to my own small business and I bring it to this place now. And I bring it as a proud member of the Labor Party, the party of aspiration. Labor supports equality of opportunity for everyone, hope and possibility for everyone, and for providing a good safety net, we really do ensure that those things are for everyone. We understand that all of us aspire to go to work and earn a wage that we can bring home to support our families. We aspire to get paid for the hours we do. We aspire to earn our entitlements, and we aspire to be respected through the dignity of work. In this government, we aspire to make wage theft a crime. We aspire to many things in many, many ways, and as shown in the last 4 years, we will deliver. The Mount Waverley electorate is a stunning example of what can be achieved when aspiration and opportunity are brought together, and no more so than its ethnic communities. And I'm fortunate to represent an electorate that enjoys huge cultural diversity, with over 50% born elsewhere or their parents born elsewhere. In Mount Waverley, one in 4 of us are of Chinese ancestry and speak a Chinese dialect at home. Residents with ties to India and Sri Lanka are also joining us in larger numbers, and combined they make up a very welcome 11 or 12% of our electorate. The vast majority of us, of course, are migrants or descended from migrants. Some, like me, are also descended from those who came from Britain in chains. Many more have come voluntarily, and whether they arrived 2 centuries or 2 weeks ago, their goals were anchored in aspiration. And these migrants have contributed so much to our state. But whether we're from another country, another suburb, we believe in opportunity, and we believe in community, and we believe in a better future. For most people, their contribution to a better Victoria starts and stays at the community level. Joining a kindergarten committee, as I did some years ago, is perhaps not a complete apprenticeship for politics, but it is about getting involved, giving back and trying to make things even better. I see mums and dads on committees like those and the ones who join school councils. I see the parents who go to watch their kids play sport and get involved in local clubs. I see people in retirement volunteering their time to help others. I see multicultural volunteers working in their respective communities. These are the people who make Mount Waverley, Victoria and Australia work as well as we do. I would love to see more people get involved in politics. You don't have to run, but join a party and see if you can't make a difference. I got interested in politics when I had kids and I realised it wasn't just about Beck and I anymore. And the attitude I bring is one of we, not me. After all, it's the way I was brought up. To my parents, John and Marcia Fregon, I am what you created. Every win and loss in your lives created this man, and I'm so grateful. I can only hope my children are so lucky. By chance, my mother is celebrating her 75th birthday today. Over the years, this day has created a special saying in our family, which is used to stop debate before it gets to the point of argument. So today, Dad, I get to use it in this place. That's very interesting. Happy birthday, Mum. To my sister Sarah and her family, Sarah, it's your fault I'm here, and you've always believed in your bigger brother, probably more than I do. Extended family and friends, so many and all so worthy. The Hastings clan, you could not have been more loving. To my good friends Mark and John, I owe you more than I can give. And above all, I thank the people of the district of Mount Waverley. You have placed your trust in me, and I am more than aware of the enormity of this. I will spend the time given to me here to represent all of you to the best of my ability and to leave our community and our state better than I found them. And so, with tolerance, inclusion, compassion and empathy, I say to you all that we will never become more by dividing ourselves, but we will always be stronger standing together. Thank you.
Order. Order. I'm going to ask members to take their seats in the House. Order. Treasurer.